Huh? Don't touch it, otherwise you are forgetting to start it again and then last question. No need, we will cut and we will post. We have editors there. Huh? Like his own. What is it recording? How do I know what is it? I don't need to do anything. Video on. Only one thing I need to know. So
My video is off. Okay. Okay, page 25. Like this. Let me resume. Here, Maladev will do this. शास्त्रस्य श्रद्धालु सद्धर्मनिष्ठो जितेन्द्रिय अधिकारी. The person who is eligible to carry out the instructions of this scripture Bhagavad Gita is a person who has full faith, Shraddhalu, who is fixed in spiritual dharma. That means he wants to attain the highest goal, and his senses are fully under control, Vijitendriya. So that is common for all the three tracks. They have absolute faith in the Lord. You need to be interested in spiritual dharma. Spiritual dharma means you're interested in attaining eternal service to the Supreme Lord. And your mind and senses have to be fully under control, because without that you cannot execute. Slow or fast, you need to have mind and senses fully under control. Such as Sanishta, Swanishta, Parinishthita Nirapeksha Bheda Trividha Teshu Swargadi Lokanapi Didrikshu Nishtaya Swadharman Hari Archana Rupan Acharan Prathamaha. So in the first track, the first type of Vaishnava, the first type of person eligible to carry out the instructions of Bhagavad Gita is a person who also has the desire to see Swarga and other worlds, upper celestial worlds. And with great faith, he is carrying out his swadharma, material duties. He is carrying them out, considering this to be a worship of Lord Hari, meaning that he is doing it in a spirit of devotional service to Lord Hari. The second person, he is absorbed in Hari Bhakti, but he is also executing the activities of Swadharma, material duties, in order to do good to the world. For public welfare, he is executing his material duties. So that is the distinction between track 1 and track 2. In track 1, he is executing the duties of Varnashram to purify himself. In the second track, the devotee is executing some amount of time was given for his material duties, but that is for public welfare. Because if you don't do something, you cannot expect others to do it. Such as ashrama. And both of these people are within the ashrama system. Satya tapo japadi brihi, vishuddha chittaha, haryeka nirataha, tutiyaha nirashramaha. The third category is a person who is exclusively engaged in devotional service to Lord Hari. And this person, his mind is fully pure because of adherence to the truth, austerities, japa, and so on. He is in nirashrama. He is beyond the ashrama system. Okay. There are three methods of attaining the truth: karma, jnana, and bhakti. And the heart is purified by performance of swadharma while giving up desire for results and the sense of being the doer. It is the practice of jnana and bhakti. Thus, karma is accepted as a sadhana when related in this sequence. Karma is of two types, primary and secondary. Primary karma avoids violence as prescribed in scriptures. Secondary karma performs violence as prescribed in scripture. With purification of the heart by karma, jnana arises. When one is endowed with jnana, it matures into bhakti. When one searches out the one conscious entity by a slight glance, it is called jnana. By that, one attains salokya, sarupya, samyukya, sashti. Why sayukya? Okay, and sayukya also. I said, that's not how to say that. Yes, sayukya also. Correct. When this jnana matures, one begins to search with unblinking glance. The highest purushartha in the form of service, etc., to the Lord appears through pure bhakti, which includes salokya, etc., but not sayukya, taking shelter of various spiritual pastimes within the single conscious Atma. This is the only difference between bhakti and jnana. In the first 6 chapters of Gita, knowledge of the jiva as an amsha of the Ishvara and the swarupa of the Ishvara, the amshi, is suitable for worship, achieved through nishkama karma, is shown. In the middle 6 chapters, there are seen teachings of bhakti, which gives attainment of the highest goal along with bhakti's glorification. In the last 6 chapters, surrender in pure bhakti is shown as the conclusion, while describing with clarity the conclusion concerning Ishvara and other topics which were previously discussed. The person who has controlled the senses and is fixed in the proper dharma with faith is qualified for this scripture. There are 3 types of qualified persons: sanishta, parinishita, and nirapeksha. The person who faithfully performs his swadharma in the form of worship of the Lord while having desire to seek swargaloka, etc., is the swanishta. The person who is absorbed in serving bhakti while performing swadharma with the desire to teach people is the parinishta. Both accept ashramas. The person whose heart has been purified by truth, austerity, and japa, etc., who is fully devoted to the Lord, without ashrama, is the nirapeksha. Okay, so we come back to this. He does not advise Arjuna simply to remember him and give up his occupation. No, the Lord never suggests anything impractical. In this material world, in order to maintain the body, one has to work. Human society is divided according to work into 4 divisions of social order: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. So, when Krishna says that you should remember me while carrying out your work, it means while you're carrying out your occupation, you should remember Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya has indicated the same by saying, Kirtaniya Sadahi. One should practice chanting Krishna's names always. All of this requires a lot of attachment to Krishna. How is this possible? The Acharyas give the following example. Gives the example of a woman who may carry out her household duties, even when she wants to meet another man. This example is coming from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Chaitanya Charitamrita. A strong sense of love is required here. If we have a strong sense of love for the Supreme Lord, then we can discharge our duty and at the same time remember him. But we have to develop that sense of love. We work not with our body, but actually actually, but with our mind and intelligence. So if the intelligence and the mind are always engaged in the thought of the Supreme Lord, then naturally the senses are also engaged in a service. Superficially, at least, the activities of the senses remain the same, but the consciousness is changed. The Bhagavad Gita teaches one how to absorb the mind and intelligence in the thought of the Lord. Such absorption will enable one to transfer himself to the kingdom of the Lord. If the mind is engaged in Krishna service, then the senses are automatically engaged in his service. This is the art, and this is also the secret of Bhagavad Gita. Total absorption in the thought of Sri Krishna. So now here I have a question. On page 25, last paragraph, Prabhupada says that Krishna does not tell Arjuna that he should remember him and give up his occupation. But at the same time, we also note that the Nirapeksha group, they do give up. They give up their occupation in order to engage in Navavida Bhakti. So, how do you reconcile these two?
Actually, Prabhupada writes in the mental instruction, the Duttamatikaya, so Prabhupada is Duttamatikaya, and for the sake of preaching, he went down to the part of Madhyam Tikaya, maybe here is the same principle.
But these are sadhakas, none of them are siddhas. So, Ashta is a sadhaka, but Bhajan is a sadhaka, they are all within the material world. These are none of them is Uttamatikaya. They will, eventually they will, here, when they come to this point. They will all become Uttama Vaishnavas. But it's just that one will take several lifetimes to come to the point, another will take one full lifetime, another is few days, weeks, months, years. This Nirapeksha is the one who is following us from. Yeah, he's outside of the entire Varna Ashrama system. Nirapeksha can be a man, can be a woman also. Gargi, she was like that. There was some who give up everything and simply engage in devotion service. Within this think of them like sannyasis. Something like that. So Nirapeksha are of that type. Nirapeksha itself means indifferent. You not only give up sinful activity, you're also indifferent to material learning, which is a very big thing in Vedic civilization. Not a joke. It is not easily, you're not allowed to give up your material duties, because material duty is infrastructure. Infrastructure. Once Gopi Brahman, my teacher, explained, imagine if you give somebody a building, a house to stay in, but there is no infrastructure. There is no running water. There is no electricity. Will people be able to execute devotion service easily? Unless they are so fixed. So this Varnashrama Dharma is just material infrastructure. That's all. It is just making sure that your body and mind don't drive you crazy. Everything is dealt with. Your health is reasonably okay. Your mind is reasonably okay. So why is this factory then?
The first principle is follow Krishna's instruction.
Correct. Yeah. But but here also is said Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Mamanas.
Krishna is Arjuna's guru. Without him, that's fine.
It's okay, but here he's saying that you remember me and fine.
This is not the final instruction.
Final instruction is Sarvadharman. That is the highest instruction. You will see that when we come to 18th chapter, where you will see Krishna defines certain instructions for Swanishtas, certain instructions for Parinichitas, and certain instructions for Nirapeksha. Basically, there are two sets of instructions. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yajyotosi dadasi yat tapassasi kamteya tat purusha madarpa. Do all your material activities sinlessly, understood, sinlessly, offenselessly, by mixing it with Krishna consciousness. That is one set of instructions. Another set of instructions is Manmanabhu Madbhaktu Madhyaji Mam Namaskar. Now, Manmanabho Madhvaktu Madhyaji Namaskaru comes 2 times in Gita. Once, first time it comes in 9th chapter. Second time it comes in 18th chapter. And what is the difference between these two? In the 9th chapter version, Krishna says, Yat karoshi yadasnasi yajjikosi dadasi yat tapasyasi konte tat kuru samatarpana. And along with that, he says, Manmanabho Madhvaktu Madhyaji Namaskaru. In 18th chapter, he says, Manmanabho Madhvaktu Madhyaji Namaskaru and Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamaikum. So, in the 18th chapter version, he's saying, you do Manmanabho Madhvaktu Madhyaji Namaskaru and stop doing anything else. No, don't even offer it to me, nothing. Stop. That's all. That's all. So, the Nirapeksha group is that group. They are not just interested in Krishna, they are obsessed with Krishna. In fact, this is the Ragamarg. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has identified the Nirapeksha group track as the pathway of the. We will come across it in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in Metro. This is VGP track 2. Pure Vidibhakti, pure Raga Bhakti. Track 1 is impure Vidibhakti. So they are following the instruction of Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamaikum. And which is Krishna's own instruction. So here 8.7 Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Mahamanasmariyatyacha. This is the formula for the second track. Whereas Sarvadharman Parityajya, that is the formula for the third track. So when Swanishta, these are real persons, you know. The Swanishta group was the entire Madhva Sampradaya is this group. The Tattwavadi group is Swanishta group. So this is their understanding. In fact, if you tell them that we are attaining Vaikuntha in one lifetime, they'll simply laugh. Simply laugh. What a joke. You can only attain the spiritual world after all your karmic reactions have become zero. And as long as your karmic reactions are not zero, at the last minute, Maya will come and make you forget Lord Vishnu. At the last minute, Advacharya gives a quotation also for that. Last minute, she will, when the soul is being taken out of the body, at that time she will come and make you forget. Because your karmic reactions are still there. So until we execute pure devotion, so like the Rupa Goswami's pure devotion service, it can, track 2 can come inside it, track 3 can come inside. But track 3 is definitely higher version because not even think about infrastructure and serve God. How much of faith you need to have. That is why it is considered to be on the path of spontaneous movement. It's just like, you know, some girl is in love with some boy. Brainlessly, she's in love. It runs away with him. Where they go, they don't know. It's like, it is absolutely convinced. Krishna will take care of it. Krishna Bhakti Koile Sarva Karma Krita Fine. All I need to do is serve Krishna. Shravana Kirtana Krishna Smarana Padase Martana Makatasim Sakhimatman. I should avoid offenses. I should avoid sinful activities. I should simply carry out devotion service to Krishna. 64 items of bhakti. I will do 64 items. Haribol, that's all. And Krishna will take care of it. Oh, what about your money, health? I don't know all these things. Ananya Shinte Antoma Yajana Padi Pasate. What is that? Yoga Kshema Maha. It's not my business. Krishna's business. Krishna is his duty. Husband has to take care of wife. Wife doesn't have to take care of husband. They think like that. Nirapekshists think like this. Absolute faith in Krishna. Absolute. And because they are so, they have so much of faith in Krishna. Krishna also has so much faith in them. Krishna also has that degree of faith. In fact, when at the time of their leaving the body, Krishna personally comes and takes them. For the track 1 and track 2, there are particular demigods who are in charge, who take them to their next destination. Very elaborately discussed in the Upanishads. There are certain Ativahika, there are transport demigods. Their duty is to transport souls. There are particular jivatmas. For track 2 and out, there's a sequence. This one will take you from this, when you leave the body in the human world, take you to a particular place. Then that Atma will be given to another, the next demigod. So it's like break journey. So the next one will come, take you until finally the last one, Amano Purusha, will come and dip you in the Viraja river. Then finally fully free from all subtle body and all this everything. Then now you are fresh and ready to enter into the spiritual world. This is a normal part. But for track 3, Krishna himself will come. Really extraordinary. And the reason why Krishna himself comes is because these practitioners are extraordinary. You are even giving up infrastructure. It is normal human to think of infrastructure. No, we think about how to eat and all that. This group will not even think about all this. Shamefully, that's all run. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells Rup Sanatan to go to Vrindavan. Go, that's all. He did not make arrangement for their eating, for their house. He did not provide a place to stay. He did not provide them food. He didn't give them any money. No, nothing. That's all. Go, that's all. They also go, that's all. Finished. In fact, whatever money they had, they threw it away also. Sanatan Goswami had a touchstone, Chintamani. He never utilized in Yukta Vairagya, you saw? Never. Because they should not do it. Sannyasi should not use it for his purpose. So he will not, he threw it in the garbage. This to teach us that this is how renunciants are meant to be. Sanatan Goswami gave rules also how to eat. So this is how they are. It is very natural for one who is so serious in Krishna consciousness. Okay, so there's no contradiction because here 8.7 referred to on page 25. This is just referring to the ordinary normal devotees. They are super normal, extraordinary devotees. So for them, Krishna himself takes charge. Okay. If one has 50 years of life ahead, we should engage that brief time in cultivating this practice of remembering the Supreme Personality of God. This practice is the devotional process. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atman, Nivedanam. These 9 processes, of which the easiest is Shravanam, hearing the Bhagavad Gita from the realized person, will turn one to the thought of the Supreme Being. This will lead to remembering the Supreme Lord and will enable one, upon leaving the body, to attain a spiritual body which is just fit for association with the Supreme Lord. This is not a very difficult process. However, one must learn it from an experienced person. One must approach a person who is already in the practice. One must approach, the mind always flying to this and that. But one must practice concentrating the mind always on the form of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna or on the sound of his name. The mind is naturally restless, going hither and thither, but it can rest in the sound vibration of Krishna. So the second method by which we become focused on Krishna's lotus feet is by being fixed in the sound vibration of Krishna. So one is reading the scriptures. Now the scriptures have been very reasonably summarized by Prabhupada in his books. So if one wants to understand the import of Vedic scriptures nicely, then you can study Prabhupada's books very nicely. That will focus our mind on Krishna. Another method is to be focused on the sound vibration of Krishna. One must thus meditate on Paramam Purusham, the Supreme Personality of God in the spiritual kingdom, the spiritual sky, and thus attain him. The ways and the means for ultimate realization, ultimate attainment are stated in the Bhagavad Gita, and the doors of this knowledge are open for everyone. No one is barred down. All classes of men can approach Lord Krishna by thinking of him, for hearing and thinking of him are possible for everyone. The Lord further says, Mamhi Partha Vipashiti Yuepisyu Papayone, Striyo Vaishya Satashutras Epianti Paramgatim, Kim Punar Brahmana Punya Bhakta Raja Shayastata, Anitya Masukam Lokam Mudam Prapya Bhajaswam Mahi. Can someone read the translation for this? 9.32 and 33.
O son of Krishna, those who take shelter in me, those redeemed of your body, demons, Vaishyas, and to the purpose. And again, this. How much more this is so with the practice Brahma, the devotees understand the thing. Therefore, having come to this temporary visible world, we will now learn something.
Okay, so here we say, we see that what Krishna is saying that everyone can attain him, regardless of their current situation. Thus, the Lord says that even a merchant, a fallen woman, or a laborer, or even human being in the lowest status of life can attain the Supreme. One does not need highly developed intelligence. The point is that anyone who accepts the principle of Bhakti Yoga and accepts the Supreme Lord as a summum bonum of life, as the highest target. Summum bonum of life means you consider that Krishna is the most valuable asset in my life. If I have Krishna, I am satisfied. I don't need anything else. The ultimate goal can approach the Lord in the spiritual sky. If one adopts the principles enunciated in Bhagavad Gita, he can make his life perfect and make a permanent solution to all the problems of life. This is the sum and substance of the entire Bhagavad Gita. Now let me go back to some very interesting notes from him. Vachya Vachaka Bhava Sambandha. How is this book related to its subject? This is a plain description. It is a theoretical textbook. Yes, it contains many practical instructions, but it just explains. It is not like there are different types of books. There are some books which are descriptive. This is descriptive. It gives you, but then there are some, like for instance, even in today's world, we have cookbooks. You have exercise books, some books which contain exercise in which you need to write answers. So there are different types of books. This is a descriptive book. It tells you this is the method by which you can attain the Lord. After that, you are supposed to implement it yourself in your life under the guidance of one of our spiritual master and in the association of other more advanced practitioners. Vachya Ukta Lakshana Shri Krishna. The subject matter of this book is Shri Krishna, as already noted so far. Vachakaha Tad Gita Shastram Tadrika Sutra Vishaya. And this Gita Shastra is a description about him. Ashesha Klesha Nivritti Purvaka Tat Sakshakarastu Prayojana. And what is the goal of this book? The goal of this book is to first of all free its reader from his unlimited miseries and then bring about that reader into direct contact with Lord Krishna. Atra Ishwaradishu Trishu Brahma Shabdaka Akshara Shabdasya Bhatajiveshu Taddehishu Cha Akshara Shabda. The word Brahman in this book has been used to refer to Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, sometimes, Jiva sometimes, and Prakriti. The word Akshara has also been used for these three, Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti. For the conditioned souls and their bodies, the word Kshara has been used. Ishvara Jiva Dehe Manasi Buddho Dhrutau Yatne Cha Atma Shabdaha. The word Atma has been used to refer to Ishvara, Jiva, the body, the mind, the intelligence, Dhruti. Dhruti means tolerance. Yatne, endeavor. Trigunayam Vasanayam Shile Swarupecha Prakriti Shabda. The word Prakriti has been used to refer to Prakriti who possesses the three gunas. Sometimes Prakriti is used to refer to Vasana, the materialistic propensities of the conditioned souls. Sometimes Prakriti has been used to refer to Shila, one's habits. Sometimes the word Prakriti means the nature. Satta Abhipraya Swabhava Padartha Janmasu Kriya Swatmasu Cha Bhava Shabda. The word bhava in Bhagavad Gita sometimes refers to existence, sometimes refers to intention, sometimes refers to nature, sometimes it refers to the appearance of things, sometimes it refers to activities, sometimes it refers to Atma. Karmadishu Trishu Chitta Vritti Nirodhecha Yoga Shabda Pakhyate. The word yoga is used in Bhagavad Gita to refer to karma, jnana, bhakti. Sometimes it is also used to refer to restraining one's mental propensities. So these words are used in these different senses throughout this book. Etat shastram khalu swayam bhagavata sakshat vachanam sarvata shreshta. This scripture, it is directly spoken by Swayam Bhagavan, and therefore it is the most excellent presentation of Vedic knowledge. Gita Sugita Kartavya Kivanya Shastra Vistarai Yaswayam Padmanabhasya Padman Vinisarata Iti Padma, because the Padma Purana says that you will come across this verse also. Dhritarashtradi Vakyam to Tat Sangati Labhaya Vaipayanena Virachitam. There are some, the initial portion beginning with Dhritarashtra Vacha. That portion is to bring about the context to the Bhagavad Gita that has been presented by Dvaipayana. Dvaipayana means Vyasadeva, Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasadeva. Tacha Lavanahana Nipatam Nyayana Tanmayam Ityupodatthata. And that is acceptable. So when we say Bhagavad Gita, we include these portions also. They're all part and parcel of the context. The explanation of Tattva takes place in steps. First, the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna amidst the armies of Kurukshetra is described as follows. Okay, I want someone to read out from page 28, last portion, in conclusion onwards. You can read.
In conclusion, Bhagavad Gita is the transcendental literature which one should read very carefully. Gita Shastram Idam Brahma Yat Pate Prayata Kuman. If one properly follows the expression of the Bhagavad Gita, one can be freed from all the miseries and anxieties of life. Bhaya Shokadi Vajita. One will be freed from all fears in this life, and one next life will be spiritual. Gita Mahatmam 1. There is also further advantage. Gita Dhyana Shirasya Pranayam Prayasya Naiva Shanti Pani Purva Janma Hitancha. If one reads Bhagavad Gita very sincerely and with all seriousness, then by the grace of the Lord, the reactions of his past misdeeds will not act upon him. Gita Mahatmya 2. The Lord says very loudly in the last portion of the Bhagavad Gita, 18.66, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papeyo Moksha Swami Masucha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear, because the Lord takes all responsibility for one who surrenders unto him, and he indemnifies such a person against all the reactions of sin. Mala Nirmochanam Vamsa, Jalasmanam Vinebine, Sakrit Vitam Snanam, Samsara Mala Nashini. One may cleanse himself daily by taking a bath in a water, but if one takes bath even once in the secret Ganges water of the Bhagavad Gita, for him the dirt of material life is altogether vanquished. Gita Mahatmya 3. Gita to Gita Kartavyan Kim Anya Shastra Vistraha Jasvayam Padmanabhasya Mukha Padma Vinishrata. Because Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one need not read any other Vedic literature. One need only attentively and regularly hear and read Bhagavad Gita. In the present age, people are so absorbed in mundane activities that it is not possible for them to read all Vedic literatures. But this is not necessary. This one book Bhagavad Gita will suffice because it is the essence of all Vedic literature, and especially because it is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Gita Matni 4. As it is said, Bharatamrita Sarvasham Vishnu Yatra Nimishratam Gita Gango Dhyatam Pitva Punar Janmana Vidyati. One who drinks the water of the Ganges attains salvation. So what to speak of one who drinks the nectar of the Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita is the essential nectar of the Mahabharata and it is spoken by the Lord Krishna himself, the original Vishnu. Gita Mahatma says, Bhagavad Gita comes from the mouth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Ganges is said to be emanated from the lotus feet of the Lord. Of course, there is no difference between the mouth and the feet of the Supreme Lord, but for an impartial study, we can appreciate the Bhagavad Gita even more important than the water of the Ganges. सर्व ईशो विदाओ दुर्ग गोपाल नंदन पार्थो वत्स सुधीर भक्ता दुर्गम गीतामृतम महत्. This Gita-Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, is the essence of all Upanishads, is just like a cow, and Lord Krishna, who is famous as a coward boy, is milking his cow. Arjuna is just like a calf, and learned scholar and pure devotee are to drink the nectarian milk of the Bhagavad Gita. Gita Mahatma 6. Ekam Shastram Devaki Putram Gitam, Eko Devaki Putra Evam, Eko Mantras Tasya Namani Yani, Karmapi Ekam Tasya Devasya Seva. Gita Mahatma 7. In the present day, people are very much eager to have one scripture, one God, one religion, one quotation. Therefore, Ekam Shastram Devaki Putram Gitam. Let there be one scripture only, one common scripture for the whole world, Bhagavad Gita. Eko Deva Devaki Putram Evam. Let there be one God for the whole world, Sri Krishna. Eko mantra tasya namani, and only in one mantra, one prayer, the chanting of his name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Karma pi ekam tasya devasya seva, and let there be one work, one deed, the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
No. Okay. Any thoughts? Any questions? Introduction is so important. Prabhupada wanted it published as a separate book also, and it is published as a separate book. It's very, very important. Okay. The disciplic succession. Evam parampara prapam evam rajashyo viduhu. Bhagavad Gita 4.2. This Bhagavad Gita as it is received through this disciplic succession. Krishna, Brahma, Narada, Vyasa, Mantra. Now, between this, okay, first of all, this disciplic succession has got different parts. So, first of all, Krishna, Brahma, Narada, Vyasa. Where is this coming from? Anyone can speculate? I allow you to speculate. Where is this coming from? Krishna, Brahma, Narada, Vyasa. It's actually coming from a scripture. This particular up to from Krishna to Vyasa is coming in this order. It is coming from Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, this comes from Srimad Bhagavatam. The teachings of Krishna consciousness is started from Krishna to Brahma, and Brahma teaches Narada. Krishna is teaching Brahma in Chatusloki. Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto. There are 4 verses, which is a summary of the entire Bhagavatam. When he teaches Brahma that, along with that, he injects into his mind the understanding of them. So it is like using these 4 verses, but along with that, he gives entire commentary on all in his mind. That is why Brahma correctly understands it. Brahma teaches Narada, that also comes in Narada. Narada teaches Vyasa, that also comes in Narada. Vyasa teaches Madhva. That is a historical fact. Yes, Madhvacharya appeared 800 or 900 years back. And he met Vyasadeva twice in Badrikashram. He was able to meet Vyasadeva. He saw Vyasadeva, Narayana Rishi, and 60,000 sages. All of them are invisible to human beings. This is Vyasa's ashram. Vyasadeva's ashram. So he met Vyasadeva in person. We also can go there, but generally we'll only see a deity of Vyasa. Human beings are generally not allowed to see. There's a lot more going on. But He was directly instructed by Vyasadeva. Then we have Padmanabha, Nrihari, Madhava, and Akshobhya. These four are actually god brothers. Padmanabha, Nrihari, Madhava, Akshobhya. All of them are Madhvacharya's disciples. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is the one who gave us this list, and he also gives us information. These four are god brothers, which is also known from Tattvadi sources. After Madhvacharya, there are 8 different branches in the Madhva line. One particular one comes in this. One particular branch is like this. So after Madhvacharya, Padmanabha was in charge of that branch. Then the next in charge was Nrihari, next was Madhva, then Akshobhya. They all have Tirtha as their sannyas titles. The Madhvacharya's name is Ananda Tirtha. So after Ananda Tirtha, Padmanabha Tirtha, then Nrihari Tirtha, then Madhava Tirtha, then Akshobhya Tirtha. Akshobhya Tirtha was specifically considered very, very learned. As you can see, next name is Jayatirtha. Jayatirtha is a very big name in the Madhva line. He wrote commentaries on more than 16 books of Madhvacharya. In that line, they call him Tikacharya, the great commentator Acharya par excellence. He is, in their line, they say that Madhvacharya is incarnation of Vayu, which is accepted by Baladeva. He also says yes, he is a pure devotee of Lord Govinda. He is an incarnation of Vayu. Vayu is very big name. Vayu is very big in Vedic civilization. Whenever they do any Vedic ceremony, they recite something called Shanti Sutta. Namaste Vayo, Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi, Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami, Ritam Vadishyami, Satyam Vadishyami, Tanmavatu. Goes everywhere, even in my Shanti Sutta is commonly done. And there in Shanti Sutta itself it is mentioned. My dear Vayu, you are the direct representation of Brahman. Brahman is Lord Vishnu. You are directly Lord Vishnu's representative. I tell the truth. I firmly tell the truth. And I certainly assert the truth. 3 times. So Vayu is considered very big amongst the demigods. Very powerful. Then Madhvacharya often writes about the world of the demigods. He's mostly talking of track 1. So naturally, he spends a lot of discussion about what happens after the soul leaves human body, and there's hundreds of details he gives. In fact, he points out that after one becomes Vayu, then he can become Brahma. That lots of small details he gives. Jayatirtha is considered to be Indra's incarnation in their line. Very good in attacking Mayavan. He attacks Mayavan like no one's business. Very, very good. He wrote amongst various books. He is most famous for one particular book called Nyaya Sudha. Sudhava Pataniya, Vasudhava Palaniya. And this is a commentary on, it's a commentary on Madhvacharya's second commentary. Of Vedanta Sutra. Madhvacharya wrote 3 different commentaries on Vedanta Sutra. The second commentary he simply attacks. Anything that is wrong, he attacks. The whole book is just attack. He attacks the Mayavad and misinterpretation. That's all simply. So, our Jayatirtha, he wrote a famous commentary on Madhvacharya's second commentary called Nyaya Sudha. Nyaya Sudha. Nyaya means logic. Sudha means nectar. So the nectar of Madhvacharya is logic. That comes out. It is typically studied. Tattvavadis, they study it very thoroughly. And they are generally graded according to how many times they have taught Nyaya Sudha. He has taught Nyaya Sudha 10 times. So that's how they study. Then comes Jnana Sindhu, Dayanidhi, Vidyanidhi, Rajendra, Jayadratana, Purushottam, Brahmanya Tirtha. Then Vyasa Tirtha. Vyasa Tirtha is also a big name in their line. Ananda Tirtha, Jaya Tirtha, Vyasa Tirtha. These are considered very important. Vyasa Tirtha's attack of Mayavada is, it actually completely shook Varanasi, which is the capital of the Shankara followers. He wrote a book called Nyayamritam, in which he reviewed various ideas of Mayavada and attacked them. And later on, one Madhusudan Saraswati came from Bengal. He became a Mayavadi. He tried to defend them. And then Vyasatirtha's disciples again attacked back. Then one of his followers, Madhusudan's followers, counterattacked. Even now, this thing is going on between the Advaita line and Dvaita line. You go on YouTube and you search for the Dvaita debates, you'll find. The debates are in Sanskrit, but it's video recorded and posted. Almost every 2 months you'll find one debate. Because this Madhva group, they'll never let you go. Catch it. Why you said this is wrong? In their line, they go on saying these are asuras. Asuras. Anti-Vishnu group, asuras. Then comes Lakshmipati, and then Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri is the start of the Gaudiya Vaishnava line. Lakshmipati Tirtha had disciples in the north also. Even Vyasatirtha traveled all the way to north. He did some preaching, but it looks like Lakshmipati definitely had some North Indian followers. From Madhavendra Puri onwards, you notice the sannyas title has changed. Madhavendra Puri, not Madhavendra Tirtha, Madhavendra Puri. Then we have Ishwara Puri. We also have Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Acharya, both of whom are Madhavendra Puri's disciples. Then we have Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. From Madhavendra Puri onwards, the attitude changed. They started focusing on Srimad Bhagavatam itself, the text of Srimad Bhagavatam itself. Now in the Madhva line, their main job is to fight against Maya. Because Madhvacharya points out that if you know what is right, and you do not know, if you do not know what is right, you are going to hell. Because you will do something wrong and you will go to hell. But if you know what is right, and you don't point out that these other people, they are doing something wrong, then you go to a greater hell. So it's all, Madhvacharya says one thing and gives 3 quotations for everything that he says. So he gives scriptural quotation after that. So in that line, they're very, very careful about it. That on one hand, you should point out what is correct. You must also point out what is wrong. So they were basically absorbed in this fighting with the Mayavadis. They had some other interesting things also they were doing. Also, like Vyasatirtha's, under him there were some Purandara Dasa. The Dasa group came. They were writing songs in local language on the glories of Lord Krishna, and they were propagating. So something started. It's not there. It was not there. But it was from Madhavendra Puri onwards when a proper focus on the teachings of Bhagavatam. In the meanwhile, something else happened. Maybe 100, 150 years after Madhvacharya, there was one Sridhar Swami Sridhar Swami was a resident of Varanasi, at least at one particular point in time. And he wrote at least he wrote three books. He wrote a commentary on Bhagavad Gita, he wrote a commentary on Vishnu Purana, and he wrote a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. From his Bhagavatam commentary, we understand that he is following Vishnu Swami. But he uses the language of Shankaracharya. Just like our Bhaktivedanta Institute, we use the language of modern science to say something completely opposite of modern science. So Sridhar Swami, he uses the language of Shankaracharya. But he says that actually the Supreme Personality of God exists, that is a spiritual world. The spiritual world is eternal, it is beyond Maya. In fact, Brahman himself is coming from Krishna. All these kind of things he started saying. So Sridhar Swami's Bhagavatam commentary became very, very popular. Sridhar Swami was at least 150 years before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. And his Bhagavatam commentary became a super hit all over India, because that was the first time somebody explained the entire text of Bhagavatam consistently. The entire text. Before that, some of the Mayavadis wrote some commentaries, but proper commentary on the entire, every chapter, that was given by Sridhar. So Sridhar Swami's commentary on Bhagavatam had tremendous impact. All of a sudden, India starts to talk about everything connected, everything presented in Bhagavatam. All the four Vaishnava lines, everybody becomes interested in Bhagavatam. Madhva line also, they become suddenly interested in Bhagavatam. Madhvacharya already gave a commentary on Bhagavatam way back. Suddenly, everybody starts to, even the Sri Vaishnava line, even they started to talk about the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. So then Nama Sankirtana, they started to talk. So different people started to write books on all these things. Somebody started to summarize Bhagavatam. Somebody started to write essays on Srimad Bhagavatam. Everybody started to talk about Bhagavatam. So by the time Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, India was fully ready for it. And they're all, because these are all unique teachings of Bhagavatam, like you chant Krishna's names. So many, these are basically unique teachings. Unique meaning that because we are studying Srimad Bhagavatam every day, we may not understand it. But if you look in the other Vaishnava lines and all, the Ramanuja line, they study Vedanta. Madhvacharya line, they study Vedanta. They also, in the Madhva line, they like Mahabharata very much. So they study Madhvacharya's summary of Mahabharata. And in other Vaishnava lines, they all became influenced by Mahabharata. So by the time Madhavendra Puri came, there was a lot of interest in the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, his Supreme Personality of God himself. Then we have Rupa Goswami, Sarup Damodar, Sanatana Goswami, all of them directly under Lord Chaitanya. Then we have Raghunath Goswami and Jiva Goswami, both of whom were followers of Rupa Goswami. Then we have here Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Then we have Narottam Das Thakur. Then we have Vishwanath Chakravarti. Then Baladev Vidyabhushan and Jagannath Das. Then Bhaktivedanta, Gaurabhishore, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, title mistake. Then we have Tilak Prabhupada. Now, in the line here, this is not a Diksha line. Definitely not a Diksha line. Even earlier, you can see from Mathura to Padmanabha, Narahari, Mathura, that itself between 5 to 9. That is not, from 6 to 9 is definitely not Diksha at all. And from 20 down, it is not Diksha at all. In general, there may be some exception. Between 31 and 30, there is Diksha connection. Between 30 and 31, there is Diksha connection. Between 29 and 30, it's not Diksha. And they are not, from 20 down, they are not also sadhakas. They are all perfect in Krishna consciousness. They are siddhas. So the only way I can describe this from 20 to down is I can only refer, I can't call it a Diksha Parampara. I can't call it a Shiksha Parampara. because they are not sadhakas receiving shiksha and transmitting shiksha. It is actually a Siddha Parampara. It is a Paramahamsa Parampara. Between 26 and 27, there is a gap of 100 years. Narottam Das Thakur is fourth in Diksha line from Vishwanath. Now, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarji Thakur only gave us this list. And Bhaktisiddhanta Sarji Thakur pointed out that this is the actual disciplic line. This is because in places like in Radhapuram, they always harass us. Where is your Diksha line? Because Diksha line is always considered most important. But by them, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarji Thakur pointed out why Diksha line is given so much importance. Look at the parampara given in Bhagavatam. That is actually 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. In fact, you can extend it further. After Vyasa, in Srimad Bhagavatam, after Vyasa, we have Shukadeva Goswami. Then after Shukadeva Goswami, we have Parikshit on one side. We have Suta Goswami on the other side. Here also, there is no Diksha connection. There is no Diksha connection. It is simply all perfect souls transmitted. So you can call it if you want to call it a Shiksha line, it is definitely perfect Shiksha. So Bhaktisiddhanta Sarji Thakur argued that look at this is a spotless line. Okay. And this is what should be given more importance. Diksha line, we don't give so much importance. In fact, Bhaktivinoda Thakur at one point he stopped listening to his Diksha Guru. Because his Diksha Guru got very funny ideas. So Bhaktivinoda stopped listening to him. Bhaktisiddhanta Sarji Thakur criticized Bhaktivinoda's Diksha Guru like hell sometimes. Prabhupada goes to the extent of not even mentioning his name or his existence. From Prabhupada, we'll never get the impression that there was somebody else who was Bhaktivinoda's Diksha Guru. We never get that impression also. We tend to think that, okay, before Bhaktivinoda Jagannath, we generally think Jagannath must be the initiating Guru of Bhaktivinoda. Because Prabhupada didn't even give that information. So if somebody is off the track, asambhashya, this is the word in Sanskrit they use, unfit to be mentioned, unfit to be discussed. If somebody opposes the teachings of Paramahamsas like Bhaktivinoda, Baladev Vidyabhushan, Vishwanath Chakravarti, between Vishwanath and Narottam there is a 100-year gap. That is not surprising because one Siddha Vaishnava can definitely meet another Siddha Vaishnava directly in experience. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in one place, he notes that he met Swarup Damodar Goswami. Swarup Damodar Goswami is 23. Bhaktivinoda is 29. But in Samadhi, once he met Swarup Damodar Goswami. Swarup Damodar Goswami explained to him the first verse of Bhagavatam and gave him the outline of a complete book. He said, you write this book. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told me to tell you this. And we made the whole book, Bhagavatam original. All these things happen. Among Siddha Purushas, I think they're all associates of Radha Krishna. So it's very important to understand the nature of this disciplic life. Parampara, Jamo, Alo Mate. Used to say, understand this clearly. You must have a clear understanding. Bhaktisiddhanta Sarji Thakur repeatedly says that if one wants to attain Prema Bhakti, he should fully surrender only unto a Prema Bhakti. He should give appropriate respect to more advanced devotees. That is all fine. He should follow the duty of being a Diksha disciple, Shiksha disciple, all that is fine. But in his heart, he should fully surrender unto this Prema. If the Prema Bhakti is not available on the planet, then at least in the disciplic line they are there. So we are not orphans, we are not lost. The guidance will come. When we are fit, we will receive. It is very important. One more point I will make that when you study the writings of the Acharyas, it is safest to study them in reverse chronological order. Not that you read Prabhupada quotes and then you read Jiva Goswami's books, and then you read Bhaktivinoda, and then you read Rupa Goswami, and then you read Vishnu Goswami, and then you read Raghunath Goswami, and then you read Sanatana Goswami, and then you come back to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, then you read some from Vishnu Chakravarti, then you read Baladev Vidyabhushan. All this is happening. Proceed. First you read Prabhupada's books thoroughly. Have a clear understanding. More than 80% of all the technical details that you want is already there in this books. In general, we know the general teachings, everything required to attain pure Sambandha Jnana and Prema Bhakti, everything is there. But even from the technical point of view, more than 80% of the details already here. Then out of the remaining 20%, 80% of the remaining 20%, the technical details you can get from Bhaktivinoda Bhaktisiddhanta. Then of that remaining, another 20% you can get it. Of the remaining, you can 80% you can get it from Bhaktivinoda Bhaktisiddhanta. Then even further details, if you want, you can get it from Vishwanath Chakravarti Baladev. Then even further, if you want to go, then you go to the 6 Goswamis. Proceed in reverse chronological order. Because as a general principle, the later acharyas clarify the earlier acharyas. You remember this Nirnayaka and Nirnayana that I showed you. See? That which requires clarification, that which provides clarification. In general, the later liberated acharyas clarify the earlier liberated acharyas. So if you are confused about something that Jiva Goswami says, the best thing you can do is look at what Vishwanath Chakravarti says. If you are not clear about what Vishwanath Chakravarti says, then you go down and read Bhaktivinoda Thakur or Prabhupada. Maximum clarity you'll get it in Prabhupada. So each earlier one requires the later one for clarification. You follow this principle, it will be easy. Otherwise, you follow your own whatever and you read whatever, and then after 10 years, you will have more questions than answers. And then when you start teaching and all that, everybody becomes more confused. They will simply know that you know more. That's it. But if you ask what particular things, you become very, very confused. So this parampara is very, very important. Okay. Let's move on. Chapter 1. Can someone read the verse and translation? Mohan Radha.
After my son and the sons of family assembled in the place of the demons at Kurukshetra, he identified what he did.
Sangrama Bushmi Samvado Yogu Govinda Pathayo Tatsangatye Katham Prakya Vitasu Prathamen Namushi. This is Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan's summary of this chapter, first chapter. He always presents a chapter summary like this in a verse. He also, at the end of every chapter, he gives some lessons to be learned from that chapter in another sloka he gives. So his introduction is this, that in the first chapter, the sage Vyasadeva, in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the sage Vyasadeva presents the context that leads to the conversation that took place between Lord Govinda and Partha, the son of Pritha, right before the beginning of a war. So this is the introduction to Bhagavad Gita. Strictly speaking, Bhagavad Gita begins when Krishna starts instructing. Krishna starts instructing Arjuna from 2.11. So until 2.11, this is called Shastra Avatarana. This is an introduction to that. But this is considered part of Bhagavad Gita. Dharma Kshetra Ityadi Saptavimshatya. in 27 verses beginning with Dharma Kshetre. Tad Bhagavataha Partha Sarvaksham Vidwan Dhritarashtra Swaputra Vijaya Sandihanaha Sanjayam Pritchati Tyaha. So he begins by saying that Dhritarashtra, even though he knows that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has become the chariot driver of the son of Pritha, Dhritarashtra, because he developed a doubt about whether his sons could be victorious, he asks Sanjaya, Janmejayam Prati Vaishampayana Dhritarashtra Uvacheti. And Vaishampayana is telling Janmejaya that Dhritarashtra asked. Mahabharata is spoken by Vaishampayana to Janmejaya. Janmejaya was the son of Parikshit. These and all, no. Nanu Yutsava Samveta Ityevam Eva Tha Tato Yudheraneva Punah Kim Akurvata Iti Kaste Bhava Iti Chet Tatraha Dharma Kshetra. You yourself say that they have gathered with a desire to fight. So they have assembled to fight with a desire to fight. So what they would have done? They would have fought. That's all. Like Prabhupada says, you are hungry, you sat in a restaurant. What did you do? What does that mean? You're hungry, you sat in a restaurant. You're going to eat. That's all. But you wanted to fight. You're in a place, everything is assembled. So you would have fought. So what is this question? The Prabhupada gives an indication that there's a reason behind why Dhritarashtra asks a question like this. Between Vedanta Deshika actually explains, one of the prominent acharyas of the Ramayana school, and he explains that in Mahabharata, Mahabharata means the actual Mahabharata, 100,000 verse Mahabharata. Between Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya, their conversations were many times indirect. They would not directly, Dhritarashtra would not directly answer. Sanjaya would not directly answer it. Here also we see that Dhritarashtra doesn't directly. He doesn't ask, did my sons actually go for a peace meeting? He doesn't ask them. Yes, what did they do? So Sanjaya is also long-term secretary of Dhritarashtra. He will also not answer straight now. He said there was a discussion between Krishna and Arjuna. So he's asking what did my sons and the sons of Pandu do? And then Sanjay starts explaining a whole series of events, and Krishna spoke to Arjuna. So both of them have some reason for it. What Sanjay actually wants to say comes in the last words. Very last words of Bhagavad Gita. That, in my opinion, where there is Krishna and where there is Arjuna, there will always be a victory. So whatever you think, your sons are going to die, that's all. But they have a habit of talking in this aparoksha, this indirectly. Politicians are like that. Okay. Yadanu Kurukshetram Devanam Devayanam Sarvesham Bhutanam Brahmasadanam Ityadi Shravana Dharma Prorohi Bhuvi Bhutam Kurukshetram Prasiddham. Dhritarashtra's concern was about Kurukshetra. Now, Kurukshetra is a place that causes you to become more dharmic, because it is stated in the Shruti that Kurukshetra is a place that is worshipable even for the devas, and it makes all living creatures more spiritual in nature. Tat prabhavat vinashta vidveshamat putra kim pandavebhyastad rajyam datum nishchikyuhu. So by the influence of Kurukshetra, did my sons lose all their enmity? And did they come to the conclusion that let's just give the kingdom to the Pandavas? Yamva Pandavai Pandava Sadaiva Dharmashila Dharmakshetre Tasmin Kulakshaya Hetukad Dharman Bhita Anapraveshamevashreya. Or did the Pandavas, they're always inclined to Dharma, they're habituated to following Dharma. Because the fight was in Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra, the place of Dharma. Did they become frightened of adharma, which will come about by destroying families? And did they think, oh no, come on, let's just go back to the forest? Did they think like that? Sanjaya, tell me. Hey Sanjaya iti Vyasa Prasadat Vinashta Ragadveshaha Tvam Tathyam Vada Ityartha. So he's asking for Sanjaya because Sanjaya was specifically blessed by Vyasadeva that he would be able to see all the different events that take place in the war because Sanjaya was indifferent to attractions and repulsions. He didn't belong to any of the two sides. So you tell me the fact, what happens? Pandavanam Mamakatva Anuktihi, Dhritarashtrasya Teshu Droham Abhivyanakti. Dhritarashtra has betrayed the Pandavas here because he is not referring to the Pandavas as my people. He is referring only to his own sons as my people. Dhanya Kshetra Tad Virodhinam, Dhanya Abhasanam Iva, Dharma Kshetra Tad Virodhinam, Dharma Abhasanam Tvat Putrana, Apagamaha Bhavi, Iti Dharma Kshetra Shabdena Girdevyan Vajyate. But Saraswati Devi has inspired Dhritarashtra to use the word Dharma Kshetra. Now, Kshetra means a land or a plot. And Dharma Kshetra can also mean a land where normally we talk about rice field, wheat field, but this is a Dharma field. It's a field of Sukriti. So here Dharma grows. So the indication is just like in a rice field, you may have crops which look like rice, which need to be removed. So like that, here, Dhritarashtra's sons, they claim to be dharmic, but actually they are not. They are actually opposing dharma. So they will simply be removed. So Saraswati Devi has inspired Dhritarashtra to use words which will themselves indicate what is going to happen to his own sons. Bhagavad Gita is widely read theistic science summarized in the Gita Mahatmya. It says that one should read Bhagavad Gita very scrutinizingly with the help of a person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna and try to understand it without personally motivated interpretation. The example of clear understanding is that in the Bhagavad Gita itself, in the way the teaching is understood by Arjuna, who heard the Gita directly from the Lord. If someone is fortunate enough to understand the Bhagavad Gita in that line of disciplined succession, without motivated interpretation, then he surpasses all studies of Vedic wisdom and all scriptures of the world. One will find in the Bhagavad Gita all that is contained in other scriptures, but the reader will also find things which are not to be found elsewhere. That is a specific standard of the Gita. It is a perfect theistic science because it is directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. Prabhupada was very, very annoyed that people wanted to, and still want to, present their own ideas by presenting it as Krishna's ideas in their commentaries. So he said, if you want to smoke ganja, you use your own hand. Why you use somebody else's hand to smoke ganja? You want to present your idea, you present your idea. Why do you have to claim that this is Krishna's idea? That is something which is very, very wrong. The word Dharma Kshetra, a place where religious rituals are performed, is significant. Because on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present on the side of Arjuna. Dhritarashtra, the father of the Kurus, was highly doubtful about the possibility of a son's ultimate victory. In his doubt, he inquired from his secretary Sanjaya, what did they do? He was confident that both his sons and the sons of his younger brother Pandu were assembled in the field of Kurukshetra for a determined engagement of the war. Still, his inquiry is significant. He did not want a compromise between the cousins and brothers. He wanted to be sure of the fate of his sons on the battlefield. Because the battle was arranged to be fought at Kurukshetra, which is mentioned elsewhere in the Vedas as a place of worship, even for the denizens of heaven. Dhritarashtra became very fearful of the influence of the holy place on the outcome of the battle. He knew very well that this will influence Arjuna and the sons of Pandu favorably, because by nature they were all virtuous. Sanjay was a student of Vyasa, and therefore, by the mercy of Vyasa, Sanjay was able to envision the battlefield of Kurukshetra, even while he was in the room of Dhritarashtra. And so Dhritarashtra asked him about the situation on the battlefield. Both the Pandavas and the sons of Dhritarashtra belong to the same family, but Dhritarashtra's mind is disclosed here. He deliberately claimed only his sons as Kurus, and he separated the sons of Pandu from the family heritage. So we look at the verse on page 33. Mamaka Pandava cha eva. Mamaka, my party, my sons, my group. Pandava, the sons of Pandu. So he is asking, what did my people and Pandu's sons do? Rather, he should have asked, what did the Kauravas and the Pandavas do? They were commonly referred to as Kauravas. Dhritarashtra's sons were commonly referred to as Kauravas. So he could have just asked, what did the Kauravas and Pandavas do? Instead of that, he is asking, what did my people and Pandavas do? One can thus understand the specific position of Dhritarashtra in relationship with his nephews, the sons of Pandu. As in the paddy field, the unnecessary plants are taken out, so it is expected from the very beginning of these topics that in the religious field of Kurukshetra, where the father of religion, Shri Krishna, was present, the unwanted plants like Dhritarashtra's son, Duryodhana, and others would be wiped out, and the thoroughly religious persons headed by Yudhishthira would be established by the law. This is the significance of the words Dharmakshetra and Kurukshetra apart from their historical and Vedic importance. Okay, any questions? Otherwise, I'll move on. Okay, text 2. Someone else?
Sanjay Vanda, Vishwa to Pandavani, some Yoram Vilyo, Rastava, Asami, Raja, Vanama, Sanjay said, oh, after looking over the army ranks in the department of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words.
Evam Janmandhasya Pragya Chakshushaha Dhritarashtrasya Dharma Pragya Vilopa Mohandhasya Matputraha Kadachit Pandavebhyaha Tadratin Pratyariti Nalachatasya Bhavam Vidyaya Dharmishtaha Sanjayaha Patputraha Kadachitapi Debhyo Rajyam Na Arpayishyati. Iti, that Santosham Utpadayanaha Drishyati. So Dhritarashtra was born blind, but he was also unintelligent. So because Dhritarashtra had lost his sense of dharma and he had lost his wisdom, he was blind due to his affection. Dhritarashtra is a passive villain. He's not the active villain. The active villain was Duryodhana. But Dhritarashtra is not a good person because he never controlled the Duryodhana and others. Gandhari would repeatedly chastise Dhritarashtra. But it's all because of you. Because of you, hundreds of thousands of people are going to die. When Duryodhana was born, on that very day, some Brahmins came and said, you killed this child. And Dhritarashtra said, why should you kill this child? And they said, no, because of this child, so many others are going to die. So every child, even a hardcore criminal, is actually so cute. But he's a criminal terrorist. Duryodhana is a hardcore terrorist from birth. So they said that was finished. And Gandhari later on said, we should have killed him. We made a mistake. We allowed him to grow up. Specifically after Draupadi Devi was insulted. Then the Brahmins they boycotted their evening, one of the sacrifices. And Gandhari also was very, very happy. So she would always chastise the Dhritarashtra, and it's all because of you. Why all the time you are agreeing to this Duryodhana? You simply tell him that you're wrong. Yudhishthira is correct. You should just get the kingdom. But ultimately, the Dhritarashtra wanted the kingdom. Oh, how much he can enjoy? He's a blind man. On top of it, he wants to enjoy. Mohan. So he was depressed in his mind, thinking that did my son give the kingdom to the Pandavas. So now Sanjay is very dharmic, fixed in dharma. So he understands Dhritarashtra's mind very well. So he made Dhritarashtra very happy by pointing out, don't worry, your son will never ever give the kingdom to them. And basically that's what Sanjay is telling. He doesn't speak in direct, doesn't directly say it, but they understand each other's language very well. Pandavanam anekam sainyam vyudham vyuha rachanaya avasthiti. The Pandavas' army was arranged in the form of a vyuha. Now, we know from Mahabharata, it's common knowledge, that there are different formations. So when Duryodhana saw that the Pandavas' army was arranged in the form of a vyuha, Acharyam, Dhanurvidyapradam, Dronavashantam, Swayameva Tadantikam Gatva, Rajaniti Nipunaha, Vachanam, Alpaksharatvam, Gambhirarthatvam, Sankrantavachanam Shisham. So then he approached his Acharya. Here Acharya means the one who taught them Dhanurveda. He is the Shiksha Guru. In Vedic culture, normally you refer to a Shiksha Guru as a Guru. Acharya, all these things. Within ISKCON, we refer to the Diksha Guru as Guru. But in normal, even amongst the Vaishnavas, if you go to the Madhva line and you ask who's your Guru, they become very personal because there are so many Gurus there. I learned this book from him, I learned that from him, I learned this. So it is common. Acharya generally means one who's taught them something. So this refers to Dronacharya. So he personally approached Dronacharya. He did not send a messenger, he personally went. And Duryodhana is described as a Raja. Notice the word Raja. Raja Vachanam. Now Duryodhana is not yet officially coronated as a king. But he is referred to as a king because he is thinking like a king. A king thinks on the basis of Arthashastra, Rajaniti. Rajaniti is on the basis of political considerations. So he is very expert in his political considerations, Rajaniti Nipuna. And he spoke a few words with deep meaning. Atra Swayam Acharya Sannidhi Gamanena Pandava Sainya Prabhava Darshana Hetukam Tasya Antar Bhayam Guru Gauravena Tatikam Swayam Agavatam Asmi Iti Bhyas Nigopanamcha Vyajyate. Actually, when Duryodhana saw the Pandava army arranged in that manner, he saw their influence, their power. He became very frightened internally. But externally, he didn't show it. Externally, he gave the impression, oh, it is just out of respect for my Guru that I'm going to see my Guru. But actually, he was very much frightened with him. Tadvitam Rajaniti Naipunya Itisha Rajapati. Therefore, the word Raja has been used here because he is political, diplomatic. Dhritarashtra was blind from birth. Unfortunately, he was also bereft of spiritual vision. He knew very well that his sons were equally blind in the matter of religion, and he was sure that they could never reach an understanding of Pandavas who were all pious since birth. Still, he was doubtful about the influence of the place of pilgrimage, and Sanjay could understand his motive in asking about the situation on the battlefield. Sanjay wanted, therefore, to encourage the despondent king. Despondent king. And thus, despondent means dejected. And thus assured him that his sons were not going to make any sort of compromise under the influence of the Holy Ghost. Sanjay therefore informed the king that his son Duryodhana, after seeing the military force of the Pandavas, at once went to the commander-in-chief Dronacharya to inform him of the real position. Although Duryodhana is mentioned as a king, he still had to go to the commander on account of the seriousness of the situation. He was therefore quite fit to be a politician. But Duryodhana's diplomatic veneer, his show, could not disguise the fear he felt when he saw the military arrangement of the Pandavas. Okay, I'll stop this. Any questions? Okay, we'll resume at 11:30. Also, I should stop.